turn off my phone. I was trying to turn the volume. Today we are going to be reading Numbers chapters 13 all the way to 20. So this is when they sent out 12 men as spies to the promised land, and I think one was, I'm looking at it because I know, maybe it was, I feel like one was Caleb. Definitely Caleb. Caleb was a spy. He was like an old man. He was a spy, and he wanted to go spy in the promised land. But I think Joshua too. Yeah, Caleb and Joshua got sent out. Something like, I remember something like that. But we'll find out. We'll read it. And it has Korah's rebellion in it. Next video is going to have Balaam's talking donkey. So back to back epic moments. Spying on the promised land, Korah's rebellion, talking donkey. Chapter 13. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Send thou men, that they may search the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel. Of every tribe of their fathers shall ye send a man, every one a ruler among them. And Moses, by the commandment of the Lord, sent them from the wilderness and Paran. All those men were heads of the children of Israel, and these were the names of the tribe of Reuben: Shamua, the son of Zachir; of the tribe of Simeon, Shaphat, the son of Hori; of the tribe of Judah, Caleb, the son of Jephunneh; of the tribe of Issachar, Yigal, the son of Joseph; of the tribe of Ephraim, Oshea, the son of Nun; of the tribe of Benjamin, Palti, the son of Raphu; of the tribe of Zebulun, Gadiel, the son of Sodi; of the tribe of Joseph, namely, of the tribe of Manasseh, Gadi, the son of Susi; of the tribe of Dan, Amiel, the son of Gemali; of the tribe of Asher, Sethah, the son of Michael; of the tribe of Naphtali, Nahbi, the son of Vapsi; of the tribe of Gad, Gil, the son of Maki. These are the names of the men which Moses sent to spy out the land. And Moses called Oshea, the son of Nun, Jehoshua. Oh, that's right, because Joshua is also Jesus' name, so they sound really close. It's one of Jesus' name, I think, like in Greek. And so they're going to sound really close. But this is in Hebrew. What am I talking about? Okay, I'm getting a little off guard. And Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan, and said unto them, Get up this way southward, and go up into the mountain, and see the land what it is, and the people that dwelleth therein, whether they be strong or weak, few or many. And what the land is that they dwell in, whether it be good or bad. And what cities they be that they dwell in, whether in tents or in strongholds. And what the land is, whether it be fat or lean, whether there be wood therein or not. And be ye of good courage, and bring of the fruit of the land. Now the time was the time of the first ripe grapes. So they went up and searched the land from the wilderness of Zin unto Rehob, as the men came to Hamath. And they ascended by the south, and came unto Hebron, where Ahiman, Sheshai, and Talmai, the children of Anak, were. Now Hebron was built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt. And they came unto the brook of Eshcol, and cut down from thence a branch with one cluster of grapes. And they bare in between two upon a staff. And they brought of the pomegranates and of the figs. The place was called the brook Eshcol, because of the cluster of grapes which the children of Israel cut down from thence. And they returned from destruction of the land after 40 days. And they went and came to Moses and to Aaron and to all the congregation of the children of Israel, and to the wilderness of Paran, to Kadesh, and brought back word unto them and unto all the congregation, and showed them the fruit of the land. And they told him and said, We came unto the land whither thou sentest us, and surely it floweth with milk and honey, and this is the fruit of it. Nevertheless, the people be strong that dwell in the land, and the cities are walled and very great. And moreover, we saw the children of Anak there. The Amalekites dwell in the land of the south, and the Hittites and the Jebusites and the Amorites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea and by the coast of Jordan. And Caleb stilled the people before Moses, and said, Let us go up at once and possess it, for we are well able to overcome it. Caleb's hyped. But the men that went up with him said, We be not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. And they brought up an evil report of the land which they had searched unto the children of Israel, saying, The land through which we have gone to search it is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof, and of the people that we saw in it are men of a great stature. And there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which come of the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. And all the congregation lifted up the voice and cried, and the people wept that night. And all the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron. And the whole congregation said unto them, Would God that we had died in the land of Egypt! Would God we had died in this wilderness! And wherefore hath the Lord brought us unto this land, to fall by the sword, that our wives and our children should be a prey? Were it not better for us to return into Egypt? And they said one to another, Let us make a captain, and let us return into Egypt. Then Moses and Aaron fell on their faces before all the assembly of the congregation of the children of Israel. And Joshua the son of Nun, and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, which were of them that searched the land, rent their clothes. And they spake unto all the company of the children of Israel, saying, The land which we passed through to search it is an exceeding good land. If the Lord delight in us, then he will bring us into this land, and give us a land which floweth with milk and honey. Only rebel not ye against the Lord, neither fear ye the people of the land, for they are bread for us. Their defense is departed from them, and the Lord is with us. Fear them not. But all the congregation bade stone them with stones. And the glory of the Lord appeared in the tabernacle of the congregation before all the children of Israel. And the Lord said unto Moses, How long will this people provoke me? And how long will it be ere they believe me? For all the signs which I have showed among them, I will smite them with a pestilence, and disinherit them, and will make of thee a greater nation and mightier than they. And Moses said unto the Lord, Then the Egyptians shall hear it, for thou broughtest up this people in thy might from among them. And they will tell it to the inhabitants of this land, for they have heard that thou, Lord, art among this people, that thou, Lord, art seen face to face, and that thy cloud standeth over them, and that thou goest before them by daytime in a pillar of cloud, and a pillar of fire by night. Now if thou shalt kill all this people as one man, then the nations which have heard the fame of thee will speak, saying, Because the Lord was not able to bring this people into the land which he sware unto them, therefore he hath slain them in the wilderness. And now I beseech thee, let the power of my Lord be great, according as thou hast spoken, saying, The Lord is long-suffering, and of great mercy, forgiving iniquity and transgression, and by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation. Pardon, I beseech thee, the iniquity of this people according unto the greatness of thy mercy, and as thou hast forgiven the people from Egypt even until now. And the Lord said, I have pardoned according to thy word. But as truly as I live, all the earth shall be fulfilled with the glory of the Lord, because all those men which have seen my glory and my miracles which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and have tempted me now these 10 times, and have not hearkened to my voice, surely they shall not see the land which I swear unto their fathers, neither shall any of them that provoked me see it, but my servant Caleb, because he had another spirit with him, and hath followed me fully, him will I bring into the land whereunto he went, and his seed shall possess it. Now the Amalekites and the Canaanites dwell in the valley. Tomorrow turn you, and get you into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea. And the Lord spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, How long shall I bear with this evil congregation which murmur against me? I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel, which they murmur against me, saying to them, As truly as I live, saith the Lord, as ye have spoken in mine ears, so will I do to you. Your carcass shall fall in this wilderness, and all that were numbered of you, according to your whole number, from 20 years old and upward, which have murmured against me, doubtless ye shall not come into the land, concerning which I swear to make you dwell therein, save Caleb the son of Jephunneh, and Joshua the son of Nun. But your little ones, which ye said should be a prey, them will I bring in, and they shall know the land which ye have despised. But as for you, your carcasses, they shall fall in this wilderness, and your children shall wander in the wilderness 40 years, and bear your whoredoms, until your carcass be wasted in the wilderness. After the number of the days in which ye stretch the land, even 40 days, each day for a year, shall ye bear your iniquities, even 40 years, and ye shall know my breach of promise. I, the Lord, have said, I will surely do it unto all this evil congregation that are gathered together against me. In this wilderness they shall be consumed, and there they shall die. And the men which Moses sent to stretch the land, who returned and made all the congregation to murmur against him, by bringing up a slander upon the land, even those men that did bring up the evil report upon the land, died by the plague before the Lord. But Joshua the son of Nun, and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, which were of the men that went to stretch the land, lived still. And Moses told these sayings unto all the children of Israel, and the people mourned greatly. And they rose up early in the morning, and gat them up into the top of the mountain, saying, Lo, we be here, and will go up unto this place which the Lord hath promised, for we have sinned. And Moses said, Wherefore now do ye transgress the commandment of the Lord, but it shall not prosper? Go not up, for the Lord is not among you, that ye be not smitten before your enemies. The Amalekites and the Canaanites are there before you, and ye shall fall by the sword, because ye are turned away from the Lord. Therefore the Lord will not be with you. But they presumed to go up into the hilltop. Nevertheless, the ark of the covenant of the Lord and Moses departed not out of the camp. Then the Amalekites came down, and the Canaanites which dwelt in that hill, and smote them, and discomfited them, even unto Hormah. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye be come into the land of your habitations, which I give unto you, and will make an offering by fire unto the Lord, a burnt offering, or a sacrifice in performing a vow, or in a freewill offering, or in your solemn feast, to make a sweet savour unto the Lord of the herd or of the flock. Then shall he that offereth his offering unto the Lord bring a meat offering of a 10th deal of flour mingled with the fourth part of an hin of oil. And the fourth part of an hin of wine for a drink offering shalt thou prepare, with a burnt offering or sacrifice for one lamb. Or for a ram thou shalt prepare for a meat offering 2 10th deals of flour mingled with the third part of an hin of oil. And for a drink offering thou shalt offer the third part of an hin of wine, for a sweet savour unto the Lord. And when thou preparest a bullock for a burnt offering, or for a sacrifice of performing a vow, or peace offerings unto the Lord, then shall he bring with a bullock a meat offering of 3 10th deals of flour mingled with half an hin of oil. And thou shalt bring for a drink offering half an hin of wine, for an offering made by fire of a sweet savour unto the Lord. Thus shall it be done for one bullock, or for one ram, or for a lamb, or a kid, as in a goat, like a kid lamb. According to the number that ye shall prepare, so shall ye do to every one according to their number. All that are born of the country shall do these things after this manner, an offering made by fire of a sweet savour unto the Lord. And if a stranger sojourn with you, or whosoever be among you in your generations, and will offer an offering made by fire of a sweet savour unto the Lord, as ye do, so he shall do. One ordinance shall be both for you of the congregation, and also for the stranger that sojourneth with you, and one ordinance forever in your generations as ye are, so shall the stranger be before the Lord. One law and one manner shall be for you, and for the stranger that sojourneth with you. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye come into the land whither I bring you, then it shall be that when ye eat of the bread of the land, ye shall offer up an heave offering unto the Lord. Ye shall offer up a cake of the first of your dough, for an heave offering, as ye do the heave offering of the threshing floor, so shall ye heave it. Of the first of your dough ye shall give unto the Lord an heave offering in your generations. And if ye have erred and not observed all these commandments, which the Lord hath heard and spoken unto Moses, even all that the Lord hath commanded you by the hand of Moses, from the day that the Lord commanded Moses, and henceforward among your generations, then it shall be, if aught be committed by ignorance without the knowledge of the congregation, that all the congregation shall offer one young bullock for a burnt offering, for a sweet savour unto the Lord, with his meat offering and his drink offering according to the manner, and one kid of the goats for a sin offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for all the congregation of the children of Israel, and it shall be forgiven them. For it is ignorance, and they shall bring them offering, a sacrifice made by fire unto the Lord, and their sin offering before the Lord for their ignorance. And it shall be forgiven all the congregation of the children of Israel, and the stranger that sojourneth among them, seeing all the people were in ignorance. And if any soul sin through ignorance, then he shall bring a she-goat of the first year for a sin offering, and the priest shall make it an atonement for the soul that sinneth ignorantly, which he sinneth by ignorance before the Lord, to make an atonement for him, and it shall be forgiven him. Ye shall have one law for him that sinneth through ignorance, both for him that is born among the children of Israel, and for the stranger that sojourneth among them. But the soul that doeth aught presumptuously, whether he be born in the land or a stranger, the same reapproach the Lord, and that soul shall be cut off from among his people, because he hath despised the word of the Lord, and hath broken his commandment. That soul shall utterly be cut off; his iniquity shall be upon him. And while the children of Israel were in the wilderness, they found a man that gathered sticks upon the Sabbath day. And they that found him gathering sticks brought him unto Moses and Aaron, and unto all the congregation, and they put him in ward, because it was not declared what should be done to him. And the Lord said unto Moses, The man shall be surely put to death. All the congregation shall stone him with stones without the camp. And all the congregation brought him without the camp, and stoned him with stones, and he died, as the Lord commanded Moses. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments throughout the generations, and that they put upon the fringe of the borders, or a ribbon of blue. I say ribbon. I meant to say ribbon of blue. And there shall be unto you for a fringe, that ye may look upon it, and remember all the commandments of the Lord, and do them, and that ye seek not after your own heart and your own eyes, after which ye used to go a whoring, that ye may remember and do all my commandments, and be holy unto your God. I am the Lord your God, which brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am the Lord your God. Wow. It's a lot. We're not done yet. Not done yet. We still got 5 chapters. Now Korah, the son of Izhar, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi, and Dathan and Abiram, the son of Eliab, and On, the son of Peleth, sons of Reuben, took men. And they rose up before Moses, which sat of the children of Israel, 250 princes of the assembly, famous in the congregation, men of renown. And they gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron, and said unto them, Ye take too much upon you, seeing all the congregation are holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them. Wherefore then lift ye up yourselves above the congregation of the Lord. And when Moses heard it, he fell upon his face, and he spake unto Korah and unto all his company, saying, Even tomorrow the Lord will show who are his, and who is holy, and will cause him to come near unto him. Even him whom he hath chosen will he cause to come near unto him. This do, take your censers, Korah, and all his company, and put fire therein, and put incense in them before the Lord tomorrow. And it shall be that the man whom the Lord doth choose, he shall be holy. Ye take too much upon you, ye sons of Levi. And Moses said unto Korah, Hear, I pray you, ye sons of Levi, seemeth it be but a small thing unto you, that the God of Israel hath separated you from the congregation of Israel, to bring you near to himself, to do the service of the tabernacle of the Lord, and to stand before the congregation to minister unto them. And he hath brought thee near to him, and all thy brethren, the sons of Levi, with thee, and seek ye the priesthood also, for which cause both thou and all thy company are gathered together against the Lord. And what is Aaron, that ye murmur against him? And Moses sent to call Dathan and Abiram, the son of Eliab, which said, We will not come up. Is it a small thing that thou hast brought us up out of a land that floweth with milk and honey, to kill us in the wilderness, except thou make thyself altogether a prince over us? Moreover, thou hast not brought us into a land that floweth with milk and honey, or given us inheritance of fields and vineyards. Wilt thou put out the eyes of these men? We will not come up. And Moses was very wroth, and said unto the Lord, Respect not thou their offering. I have not taken one ass from them, neither have I hurt one of them. And Moses said unto Korah, Be thou and all thy company before the Lord, thou, and they and Aaron tomorrow. And take every man his censer, and put incense in them, and bring ye before the Lord every man his censer, 250 censers. Thou also and Aaron, each of you his censer. And they took every man his censer, and put fire in them, and laid incense thereon, and stood in the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, with Moses and Aaron. And Korah gathered all the congregation against them, unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and the glory of the Lord appeared unto all the congregation. And the Lord spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, Separate yourselves from among this congregation, that I may consume them in a moment. And they fell upon their faces, and said, O God, the God of the spirits of all flesh, shall one man sin, and wilt thou be wroth with all the congregation? And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the congregation, saying, Get you up from about the tabernacle. Get you up from about the tabernacle of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. And Moses rose up and went unto Dathan and Abiram, and the elders of Israel followed him. And he spake unto the congregation, saying, Depart, I pray you, from the tents of these wicked men, and touch nothing of theirs, lest ye be consumed in all their sins. So they got up from the tabernacle of Korah, Dathan and Abiram, on every side, and Dathan and Abiram came out and stood in the door of their tents, and their wives and their sons and their little children. And Moses said, Hereby ye shall know that the Lord hath sent me to do all these works, for I have not done them of mine own mind. If these men die the common death of all men, or if they be visited after the visitation of all men, then the Lord hath not sent me. But if the Lord make a new thing, and the earth open her mouth, and swallow them up, with all the appertain unto them, and they go down quick into the pit, then ye shall understand that these men have provoked the Lord. And it came to pass, as he had made an end of speaking all these words, that the ground clave asunder that was under them, and the earth opened her mouth, and swallowed them up, and their houses, and all the men that appertaineth unto Korah, and all their goods. They and all that appertaineth to them went down alive into the pit, and the earth closed upon them, and they perished from among the congregation. And all the Israel that were round about them fled at the cry of them, for they said, Lest the earth swallow us up too. And there came out a fire from the Lord, and consumed the 250 men that offered incense. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, that he take up the censers out of the burning, and scatter thou the fire yonder, for they are hallowed. The censers of these sinners against their own souls. Let them make them broad plates for a covering of the altar, for they offer them before the Lord. Therefore they are hallowed, and they shall be a sign unto the children of Israel. And Eleazar the priest took the brazen censers wherewith they that were burnt had offered, and they were made broad plates for a covering of the altar, to be a memorial unto the children of Israel, that no stranger which is not of the seed of Aaron come near to offer incense before the Lord, that he be not as Korah, and as his company, as the Lord said to him by the hand of Moses. But on the morrow all the congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron, saying, Ye have killed the people of the Lord. And it came to pass, when the congregation was gathered against Moses and against Aaron, that they looked toward the tabernacle of the congregation, and behold, a cloud covered it, and the glory of the Lord appeared. And Moses and Aaron came before the tabernacle of the congregation. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Get up from among this congregation, that I may consume them as in a moment. And they fell upon their faces. And Moses said unto Aaron, Take a censer and put fire therein from off the altar, and put on incense, and go quickly into the congregation, and make an atonement for them, for there is wrath gone out from the Lord, the plague is begun. And Aaron took as Moses commanded, and ran into the midst of the congregation, and behold, the plague was begun among the people, and he put on incense, and made an atonement for the people. And he stood between the dead and the living, and the plague was stayed. Now they that died in the plague were 14,700, beside them that died about the matter of Korah. And Aaron returned unto Moses unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and the plague was stayed. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and take of every one of them a rod according to the house of their fathers, of all the princes according to the house of their fathers 12 rods. Write thou every man's name upon his rod, and thou shalt write Aaron's name upon the rod of Levi, for 1 rod shall be for the head of the house of their fathers, and thou shalt lay them up in the tabernacle of the congregation, before the testimony where I will meet with thee. And it shall come to pass, that the man's rod whom I shall choose shall blossom, and I will make to cease from me the murmurings of the children of Israel, whereby they murmur against you. And Moses spake unto the children of Israel, and every one of the princes gave him a rod apiece, for each prince one, according to their fathers' houses, even 12 rods, and the rod of Aaron was among their rods. And Moses laid up the rods before the Lord in the tabernacle of witness. And it came to pass that on the morrow Moses went into the tabernacle of witness, and behold, the rod of Aaron for the house of Levi was budded, and brought forth buds, and bloomed, blossoms, and yielded almonds. And Moses brought out all the rods from before the Lord unto all the children of Israel, and they looked, and took every man his rod. And the Lord said unto Moses, Bring Aaron's rod again before the testimony, to be kept for a token against the rebels, and thou shalt quite take away their murmurings from me, that they die not. And Moses did so as the Lord commanded, so did he. And the children of Israel spake unto Moses, saying, Behold, we die, we perish, we all perish. Whosoever cometh anything near unto the tabernacle of the Lord shall die, shall we be consumed with dying. Pretty intense. Continuing on to chapter 18 now. And the Lord said unto Aaron, Thou and thy sons and thy father's house with thee shall bear the iniquity of the sanctuary, and thou and thy sons with thee shall bear the iniquity of your priesthood, and thy brethren also of the tribe of Levi, the tribe of thy father, bring thou with thee, that they may be joined unto thee, and minister unto thee. But thou and thy sons with thee shall minister before the tabernacle of witness. And they shall keep thy charge, and the charge of all the tabernacle, only they shall not come nigh the vessels of the sanctuary and the altar, that neither they nor ye also die. And they shall be joined unto thee, and keep the charge of the tabernacle of the congregation, for all the service of the tabernacle, and the stranger shall not come nigh unto you. And ye shall keep the charge of the sanctuary, and the charge of the altar, that there be no wrath any more upon the children of Israel. And I, behold, I have taken your brethren, the Levites, from among the children of Israel. To you they are given as a gift for the Lord, to do the service of the tabernacle of the congregation. Therefore thou and thy sons with thee shall keep your priest's office for everything of the altar and within the veil, and ye shall serve. I have given your priest's office unto you as a service of gift, and the stranger that cometh nigh shall be put to death. And the Lord spake unto Aaron, Behold, I also have given thee the charge of mine heave offerings of all the hollow things of the children of Israel. Unto thee have I given them by reason of the anointing, and to thy sons by an ordinance forever. This shall be thine of the most holy things, reserved from the fire, every oblation of theirs, every meat offering of theirs, and every sin offering of theirs, and every trespass offering of theirs, which they shall render unto me, shall be most holy for thee and for thy sons. In the most holy place shalt thou eat it. Every male shall eat it, it shall be holy unto thee. And this is thine, the heave offering of their gifts, with all the wave offerings of the children of Israel. I have given them unto thee, and to thy sons, and to thy daughters with thee. By a statute forever, every one that is clean in the house shall eat of it. All the best of the oil, and all the best of the wine, and of the wheat, the first fruits of them which they shall offer unto the Lord, them have I given thee. And whatsoever is first ripe in the land, which they shall bring unto the Lord, shall be thine. Every one that is clean in thine house shall eat of it. Everything devoted in Israel shall be thine. Everything that openeth the matrix in all flesh, which they bring unto the Lord, whether it be of man or breast or beast, shall be thine. Nevertheless, the firstborn of man shalt thou surely redeem, and the firstling of unclean beasts shalt thou redeem. And those that are to be redeemed from a month old shalt thou redeem, according to thine estimation, for the money of 5 shekels, after the shekel of the sanctuary, which is 20 gerahs. Of the firstling of a cow, or the firstling of a sheep, or the firstling of a goat, thou shalt not redeem. They are holy. Thou shalt sprinkle their blood upon the altar, and thou shalt burn their fat for an offering made by fire, for a sweet savour unto the Lord. And the flesh of them shall be thine, as the wave beast breast, and as the right shoulder are thine. And all the heave offerings of the holy things, which the children of Israel offer unto the Lord, have I given thee, and thy sons and thy daughters with thee, by a statute forever. It is a covenant of salt forever before the Lord unto thee, and to thy seed with thee. And the Lord spake unto Aaron, Thou shalt have no inheritance in the land, neither shalt thou have any part among them. I am thy part and thy inheritance among the children of Israel. And behold, I have given the children of Levi all the tenth in Israel for inheritance for their service which they serve, even the service of the tabernacle of the congregation. Neither must the children of Israel henceforth come nigh the tabernacle of the congregation, lest they bear sin and die. But the Levites shall do the service of the tabernacle of the congregation, and they shall bear the iniquity. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations, that among the children of Israel they have no inheritance. But the tithes of the children of Israel, which they offer as an heave offering unto the Lord, I have given to the Levites to inherit. Therefore I have said unto them, Among the children of Israel they shall have no inheritance. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Thus speak unto the Levites, and say unto them, When ye take of the children of Israel the tithes which I have given you from them for your inheritance, then ye shall offer up an heave offering of it for the Lord, even a tenth part of the tithe. And this your heave offering shall be reckoned unto you, as though it were the corn of the threshing floor, and as the fullness of the winepress. Thus ye also shall offer an heave offering unto the Lord of all your tithes which ye receive of the children of Israel, and ye shall give thereof the Lord's heave offering to Aaron the priest. Out of all your gifts ye shall offer every heave offering of the Lord, of all the best thereof, even the hollow part thereof of it. Therefore thou shalt say unto them, When ye have heaved the best thereof from it, then it shall be counted unto the Levites, as the increase of the threshing floor, and as the increase of the winepress. And ye shall eat it in every place, yea, and your households, for it is your reward for your service in the tabernacle of the congregation, and ye shall bear no sin by reason of it, when ye have heaved from it the best of it. neither shall ye pollute the holy things of the children of Israel, lest ye die. And the Lord spake unto Moses and to Aaron, saying, This is the ordinance of the law which the Lord hath commanded, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, that they bring thee a red heifer without spot, wherein is no blemish, and upon which never came yoke. And ye shall give her unto Eleazar the priest, and he may bring her forth without the camp, and one shall slay her before his face. And Eleazar the priest shall take of her blood with his finger, and sprinkle of her blood directly before the tabernacle of the congregation 7 times. And one shall burn the heifer in his sight, her skin and her flesh, and her blood with her dung, and shall he burn. And the priest shall take cedar wood, and hyssop, and scarlet, and cast it into the midst of the burning of the heifer. Then the priest shall wash his clothes, and he shall bathe his flesh in water. And afterward he shall come into the camp, and the priest shall be unclean until the even. And he that burneth her shall wash his clothes in water, and bathe his flesh in water, and shall be unclean until the even. And a man that is clean shall gather up the ashes of the heifer, and lay them up without the camp in a clean place, and it shall be kept for the congregation of the children of Israel for a water of separation. It is a purification for sin. And he that gathereth the ashes of the heifer shall wash his clothes, and be unclean until the even. And it shall be unto the children of Israel, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among them, for a statute forever. He that toucheth the dead body of any man shall be unclean 7 days. He shall purify himself with it on the 3rd day, and on the 7th day he shall be clean. But if he purify not himself the 3rd day, and he the 7th day, he shall not be clean. Whosoever toucheth the dead body of any man that is dead, and purifieth not himself, defileth the tabernacle of the Lord, and that soul shall be cut off from Israel, because the water of separation was not sprinkled upon him. He shall be unclean, his uncleanness is yet upon him. This is the law: when a man dieth in a tent, all that come into the tent, and all that is in the tent, shall be unclean 7 days, and every open vessel which hath no covering down upon it is unclean. And whosoever toucheth one that is slain with a sword in the open fields, or a dead body, or a bone of a man, or a grave, shall be unclean 7 days. And for an unclean person they shall take off the ashes of the burnt heifer of purification for sin, and running water shall be put thereto in a vessel. And a clean person shall take hyssop, and dip it in the water, and sprinkle it upon the tent, and upon all the vessels, and upon the persons that were there, and upon him that touched a bone, or one slain, or one dead, or a grave. And the clean person shall sprinkle upon the unclean on the 3rd day, and on the 7th day, and on the 7th day he shall purify himself, and wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and shall be clean at even. But the man that shall be unclean, and shall not purify himself, that soul shall be cut off from among the congregation, because he hath defiled the sanctuary of the Lord. The water of separation hath not been sprinkled upon him, he is unclean. And it shall be a perpetual statute unto them, that he that sprinkleth the water of separation shall wash his clothes, and he that toucheth the water of separation shall be unclean until even. And whatsoever the unclean person toucheth shall be unclean, and the soul that toucheth it shall be unclean until even. Then came the congregation of Israel, even the whole congregation, into the desert of Zin in the 1st month. And the people abode in Kadesh, and Miriam died there, and was buried there. Moses his sister died. And there was no water for the congregation, and they gathered themselves together against Moses and Aaron. And the people children Moses and spake, saying, Would God that we had died when our brethren died before the Lord? And why have ye brought up the congregation of the Lord into this wilderness, that we and our cattle should die there? And wherefore have ye made us to come out of Egypt, to bring us into this evil place? It is no place of seed, or of figs, or of vines, or of pomegranates, neither is there any water to drink. And Moses and Aaron went from the presence of the assembly, and unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and they fell upon their faces, and the glory of the Lord appeared unto them. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Take the rod, and gather thou the assembly together thou, and Aaron thy brother, and speak ye unto the rock before their eyes, and it shall give forth his water. And thou shalt bring forth to them water out of the rock. So thou shalt give the congregation and their beasts drink. And Moses took the rod from before the Lord, as he commanded him, and Moses and Aaron gathered the congregation together before the rock. And he said unto them, Hear now, ye rebels, must we fetch you water out of this rock? And Moses lifted up his hand, and with his rod he smote the rock twice, and the water came out abundantly, and the congregation drank, and their beast also. He didn't listen to God. Next verse. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, because ye believe me not to sanctify me in the eyes of the children of Israel, therefore ye shall not bring this congregation to the land which I have given them. This is the water of Meribah, because the children of Israel strove with the Lord, and he was sanctified in them. And Moses sent messengers from Kadesh unto the king of Edom. Thus saith, Thy brother Israel, thou knowest all the travail that hath befallen us, how our fathers went down into Egypt, and we have dwelt in Egypt a long time, and the Egyptians vexed us and our fathers. And when we cried unto the Lord, he heard our voice, and sent an angel, and hath brought us forth out of Egypt, and behold, we are in Kadesh, a city in the uttermost of thy border. Let us pass, I pray thee, through thy country. We will not pass through the fields or through the vineyards, neither will we drink of the water of the wells. We will go by the king's highway. We will not turn to the right hand nor to the left until we have passed thy borders. And Edom said unto him, Thou shalt not pass by me, lest I come out against thee with the sword. And the children of Israel said unto him, We will go by the highway, and if I and my cattle drink of thy water, then I will pay for it. I will only, without doing anything else, go through on my feet. And he said, Thou shalt not go through. And Edom came out against him with much people and with a strong hand. Thus Edom refused to give Israel passage through his border, wherefore Israel turned away from him. And the children of Israel, even the whole congregation, journeyed from Kadesh and came unto Mount Hor. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in Mount Hor by the coast of the land of Edom, saying, Aaron shall be gathered unto his people, for he shall not enter into the land which I have given unto the children of Israel, because ye rebelled against my word at the water of Meribah. Take Aaron and Eleazar his son, and bring them unto Mount Hor, and strip Aaron of his garments, and put them upon Eleazar his son. And Aaron shall be gathered unto his people, and shall die there. And Moses did as the Lord commanded, and they went up unto the Mount Hor in the sight of all the congregation. And Moses stripped Aaron of his garments, and put them upon Eleazar his son, and Aaron died there in the top of the mount. And Moses and Eleazar came down from the mount. And when all the congregation saw that Aaron was dead, they mourned for Aaron 30 days, even all the house of Israel. Okay, I had to clear my throat. Alright. My goodness gracious. 8 chapters took 40 minutes to read. So we're going to go through these notes, alright? No stalling, like we usually do. Alright. So, as we see a bunch of rebellions begin to happen in these 8 chapters. And God is not happy, neither is Moses. Aaron's not happy either. They went against Moses and Aaron every single time. It's like it said the congregation went against Moses and against Aaron every single time. Started ever since they went to the promise. It's been going on, actually. So the climax to the first cycle of rebellions is a refusal of the people to enter the promised land. The people adopted the majority report of 10 of 12 spies that the inhabitants of the land and their fortified cities were too strong for them to conquer. The rejection of the land was a rejection of God and his blessings. In verse 3, we see this, Moses by the commandment of the Lord sent from the wilderness of Paran. All those men were heads of the children of Israel. The geographical designations in the chapter move from the broader context of the wilderness of Paran to the more specific citation of Kadesh in the Zin wilderness. The starting point of the exploration. The Zin wilderness is defined by the desert drainage basin of the Nahal Zin, a subsection of the Paran wilderness. Today, the Nahal Zin is viewed as portions of Sinai and the Negev in modern Israel. We see these long lists of 12 scouts, one from each tribe. Caleb from Judah, I believe. Caleb was from the tribe of Judah. And Oshea, which is Joshua, I believe. Let's see. Oshea from the tribe of Ephraim. The list of these scouts contains a number of unusual names, rarely appearing again in the Old Testament, but with the exception of Joshua and Caleb. This gives an indication of the early dates of the composition of numbers. We see this thing about the first ripe grapes in verses 17 through 20 when the men are ordered to spy out the land. The parenthetic note about the season of the first ripe grapes places the exploration of Canaan in August or early September, several months after the departure from Mount Sinai in early spring. When it says southward any time in the Old Testament, refers to the region south of Hebron, but north of the Zin wilderness. Hebron is said to have been fortified 7 years before Zoan. We read that, which was in the eastern Nile Delta, about 100 miles northeast of Cairo. The Egyptian name for Zoan is Dajit-Net, which was pronounced by the Greeks as Tanis. So much easier. It is associated with the site known as Tel Edaba. The names of the 3 clans of the Anakim reflect Semitic background for these giants individuals, which, the spies came back and reported to them saying, oh, there's spies in here. They also took, when they were in there, they took some grapes. Remember that? The Hebrew word, Eshkol, means a cluster of grapes, which I believe we've read a few times. And hence, Brook of Eshkol reflects it when it talks about this brook they call the Brook of Eshkol. Hence, that name reflects the productivity of the vineyards in the valley, which is located west of Hebron. Ripe pomegranates and figs suggest a date of late August or early September for this exploration of Canaan, by the way. We see ripe pomegranates and figs. So, the time around now is like fall. But the scouts' 40 days of exploring the land, the approximate time it would have taken for the 350 to 400 mile journey on foot based upon the 12 to 15 miles per day average. They went a long time. The Israelite scouts had departed from the Paran wilderness area and had worked their way north into the Negev and through what would later be Judah and Israel. The Israelites meanwhile continued their journey to the oasis of Kadesh Barnea, presumed to be the area of Kirsema at the headwaters of the wilderness basin of the Nahal Zin. I'm saying some of these names incorrectly, but I know some of them I'm getting correct. I know that, some of them. And then the scouts come back and report. Verse 27, the scouts come back and report, saying, oh, the land truly is like a land of milk and honey. The report of the scouts, though, began on the positive side, as we said, with the demonstration of the fruitfulness of the promised land. Milk and honey became the classic description of the abundance of natural flora and fauna of the land of Canaan. The tenor, though, of this report quickly changed to a negative assessment of the possibility of conquering the heavily fortified cities and the numerous inhabitants which they claimed included giants. So they came back, Joshua and Caleb were like, this land's awesome. The 10 other dudes from the spies were like, this has a bunch of evil people. It has even giants, the son of Anak. That's what giants are, I think. The sons of Anak, I believe. So yeah, let's talk about those people. The Amalekites. They were a semi-nomadic tribe from the region of Edom that ranged throughout the southern Levant from northern Sinai to the hill country of Samaria. The Hittites, known from the patriarchal period, were from the central highlands. They originated in eastern Anatolia around the 3rd millennium BC. The Jebusites were a non-Semitic clan who lived in Jerusalem during the Middle Bronze to Iron periods. They remained in country of the city until the time of the Davidic conquest. They are unknown outside the Bible. The Semitic Amorites lived in the hill country of the central and southern Levant. The term Amorite can refer to a number of inhabitants of areas known today as Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Israel, and Palestine. It may also refer more specifically to ethnic descendants of Canaan as delineated in Ham's family tree in chapter 10 of Genesis. The Canaanites emerged in the Middle Bronze Age, which was about 2000 to 1550 BC, 500 years, about 450 years, in the southern Levant, and continued to be a significant percentage of the population until the Late Bronze Age, 1550 to 1200 BC, and Iron First Age, which was 1200 to 1000 BC. And Caleb was the first out of all these people, out of Caleb and Joshua and Moses and Aaron and everyone else. Well, Aaron and Moses wouldn't have been able to, but Caleb and Joshua would have. Caleb, out of them, were the first to counter these arguments, these objections of the majority of the scouts. And the name Caleb means dog. He had that dog in him. He wanted to go. Oh my goodness, he really did have that dog in him. Oh, that's a joke. That's a joke. It's a new joke. All right. So, like we mentioned earlier, the sons of Anak. That's a reference to the descendants of Anak as giants, which were designed to instill fear in the hearts of the Israelites. The Nephilim, or fallen ones, are noted in Genesis chapter 6, verse 4. We read about them. And they were the offsprings of the sons of God, which were angelic beings or divine warriors, and the daughters of men. The Nephilim were of large stature, but they all would have been destroyed in Noah's flood. The grasshoppers were the smallest of edible creatures permitted for Israelite consumption, and the Israelites compared themselves to the grasshoppers whenever they compared themselves to giants, the sons of Anak. So now we see them begin to rebel in verse 4 of chapter 14. They wanted to make a captain and return into Egypt. And so the rebellion turned to the rejection of God's chosen and faithful leaders, Moses, Aaron, Caleb, and later Joshua. And verse 5 through 9 talks about Moses and Aaron falling on their faces, and Joshua and Caleb also renting their clothes and stuff, and, they're not happy. They try to convince him, but they cannot listen that well. So Moses and Aaron fell on their faces in humble submission before God at the entrance to the tabernacle where the people had gathered. And at the same time, they were bowing before the rebellious Israelites, propitiating. Oh man, that was horrible. At the same time, they were bowing before the Israelites, propitiating God on their behalf. The faithful scouts, Joshua and Caleb, rent their clothes as a symbol of mourning and disdain for the defiant Israelites and their humiliated leaders. The tearing of one's garments was a gesture of mourning for the dead, for expressing lament over disease or plague, and for introducing a prophetic lament of judgment against an individual or nation. So, if I was told by God that he was going to destroy my house, there you go. Renting my clothes, or ripping my clothes, or tearing my clothes, weeping, lamenting, mourning. I hope God doesn't tell me that, but I don't think he will, but just gotta stay good. Just can't be like the Israelites. Anyway, God threatened, speaking of threats from God threatened to destroy the Israelites and start over with a new people through Moses. And this was not the first time God threatened this. If you have a reminder, Exodus 32, I believe that's the golden calf, and that's where he did it as well. But Moses, being Moses, intervened on behalf of a rebellious nation with an appeal to God's reputation among the nations. He's saying the Egyptians shall hear it. He was like, the Egyptians are going to hear of our weakness. And to the power of God to fulfill his promises, God's glory was at stake in this crisis. Verse 14 of chapter 4 says, and they will tell it to the inhabitants of this land, for they have heard that thou, Lord, art among this people, that thou, Lord, art seen face to face, and that thou cloud standeth above over them, and that thou goest before them by day time in a pillar of a cloud, and in a pillar of fire by night. Most translations have face to face lit eye to eye, but neither Israel nor Moses could look upon God's face. The expression denotes the method by which the will of God was communicated directly through the words of Moses. Whenever it was, most times when it says slow to anger, that describes God's long-suffering character. Great mercy describes God's loving kindness and covenant loyalty to the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but in spite of his love, his justice, and righteousness would not allow him to clear the guilty. The phrase visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children meant that stemming the tide of sinfulness within the family structures often took many generations. God does not cause one's descendants to suffer because of the sins of their fathers, but he does punish children who keep doing the same sorts of sins as their parents. Some refused to enter the promised land. In refusing to enter the promised land, the older generation had rejected an essential part of their covenant relationship with God that was set forth in the Abrahamic covenant. God's judgment did not apply to those who were under 20 years old of the generation that left Egypt, though. And Caleb, the faithful scout from the tribe of Judah, would join Hoshea, aka Joshua, of Ephraim, as one of only 2 exceptions to God's judgment against the 10 scouts who had issued the majority report. We see this line in verse 25 that says, the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea. And that was the line of the trade route that connected to Ezion-Geber on the Gulf of Aqaba, Elath from Kadesh Barnea through the Zin wilderness into southern Arabah. The Red Sea refers to the eastern arm of the Red Sea known as the Gulf of Aqaba. And so we see, I gotta take another sip of my water. So see, God say this, as true as I live. When he says that, it is the language of the court as Jehovah, God of Israel, taking an oath on his own honor and then announced the verdict against the guilty spies. A form of Talionic justice, judgment equal to the crime, an eye for an eye, was announced. 40 days of spying, which led to the negative report, would be matched by 40 years of rendering with an effective death sentence on the first generation of Israelite leaders and militia. If you remember God, that was kind of his punishment on Israel. 40 days they will not get into the promised land. They just wander aimlessly in the wilderness. But any attempt to launch out in conquest of the land without the Lord's blessing would be futile. Deliberate disobedience to God's command not to attack the Canaanites would meet with resounding defeat. And we see they go out anyway, and they get plundered by the Canaanites and Amorites. Well, was it Canaanites and Amalekites? We'll get to know in a minute. But the city of Hormah had been identified tentatively with Tel Masos in the Beersheba Valley region. That's just a geographical bonus. Verse 15, though, consists of 3 units that address important matters, issuing from the rebellious acts in chapters 11 through 14 that we read earlier, and land, sinfulness, and the need to remember God and his revelation. Verse 3 through 13 is talking about this offerings in the land of Canaan. An offering by fire presented in celebration stands in contrast to the destructive fire of God depicted in chapters 11 verses 1 through 4. The consecration offering described in Leviticus 1, in which the entire offering was consumed by fire on the altar, is a burnt offering. This form of dedication typically followed the sin offering that was given to restore one's relationship with God through atonement and purification. The sacrifice in performing a vow, and the peace offerings were forms of communion offering, designed to celebrate the relationship with God among the community of faith. Out of those blessings, the people would bring offerings from the produce of the land in celebration of the Lord's goodness and miraculous works in history, commemorated in the appointed festivals, Passover, Pentecost, and Tabernacles. Numbers chapter 15, verse 1 through 21, complements Leviticus chapter 1 through 3, with details about the amounts and proportions of grain, oil, and wine that were supplements to the normal offerings. Sacrificial requirements were the same for native Israelites and foreign residents who wanted to identify with the Israelite faith and submit to the authority of the Torah. They would just have the same treatment. Overall, same treatment. Nothing changes. They are strangers, but not to God. But faith for Israel was not limited to the descendants of the sons of Jacob. You gotta realize that. It says the first of your dough. That was a form of first fruits offering, which was dedicated to the Lord in celebration of the abundant produce from the land. Even the mundane daily practice of the kneading dough for making bread was to be a time of worship and celebration of God's goodness. We hear about unintentional sins in verses 22 and 23. Unintentional sins included matters in which the individual or community acted unknowingly in breaking a legal stipulation or in failing to perform certain ritual requirements. Leviticus chapter 4 and 5 provide several examples of these unintentional sins. If you want to go back and watch that, or go back and read that for yourself. Anyway, verse 30 through 31, we see an individual that sins knowingly. So when a person acted presumptuously in breaking the covenant relationship, that person blasphemed the Lord and defamed his righteous reputation. The penalty was either capital punishment or permanent banishment from the community of faith. The defiant breaking of the law of God is exemplified by an Israelite who performed work on the Sabbath. We see this man working on sticks. We know gathering sticks in verses 32 through 36, I think. Yeah. He was gathering sticks and stuff. Don't know what for. Probably making a fire or making a little hut. But we see that's an example. He was doing that on the Sabbath. The Sabbath was a sign of the Mosaic covenant. So the breaking of it would mean the rejection of the covenant relationship with God. Permitting such behavior would be dangerous to the whole people, especially as this critical juncture in Israelite history. Verse 37 through 39 gives instruction on fringe on garments as a reminder. These are those ribbons of blue that we were speaking of earlier. The instructions in this verse were about the outward symbol for reminding the people of their covenant faith, the blue corded fringes attached with the borders of the garments. When God declares I am the Lord your God. That resonates with covenant overtones, calling to mind the initial words of Moses' encounter with God in Exodus chapter 6 and the introduction to the Ten Commandments in Exodus chapter 20, verse 2. And then we see a second cycle of rebellious acts from chapter 16 all the way to chapter 19. The second cycle of rebellion focuses on a challenge to the Aaronic priesthood. The insurrection resulted in the deaths of the 250 followers of Korah and an additional 14,700 from the plague that followed. This section warns against violation of the holiness of the sanctuary. In patriarchal tribe societies in the ancient Near East, the firstborn son of 10 carried on the religious traditions for the family. This would be why Dathan and Abiram and On, who were from the tribe of Reuben, the firstborn of Jacob, decided to join the rebellion. But the leader of the insurrection was Korah, a Levite from the Kohathite clan. The Kohathites had been granted responsibilities, but Korah wanted a higher status. If you remember, the Kohathites and another one would hold out banners and follow after certain tribes. I think it was Judah and Benjamin. I'm pretty sure that they followed after. I can't remember, but I know what I'm talking about. I feel like I remember the part where it's talking about the Kohathites and the other clan. We have to go back probably later. But Korah claims his claim that all the congregation are holy. Korah says all the congregation are holy, and the Lord is among them. Had an element of truth, since God had called Israel to be my kingdom of priests and my holy nation. But that role was based on Israel's faithful obedience to God's revelation. God had ordained Moses and Aaron's exalted positions. They had not assigned themselves these roles. We see Moses challenge Korah. You take a censer, my men take a censer, your men take a censer. Censers were pans or shallow bowls with long handles, in which the priest carried hot coals upon with incense was sprinkled. Incense enhanced the sweet-smelling aroma of burning sacrifices that ascended into the heavens. Moses' words, the man whom the Lord doth choose, he shall be holy, set the challenge in the court of God to identify and defend the truly faithful servant. So he says, if God answers me, I'm the one who's truly holy, but if God doesn't, I'm the one who's truly God's servant, but if God doesn't answer me and answers you, Korah, then you're God's servant. But I doubt that because of what you're doing. Anyway, Korah and the Kohathites had a favored status among the three Levite clans in handling the holy things of the tabernacle, but they desired greater glory for themselves too. So the rebels also claimed Moses had failed to bring the people to a place of rest and abundance. They would not admit that it was their rebellion that led to the wilderness judgment. We see that their sin is backstabbing them now, and their sin of murmuring and blaspheming and rebelling. But only the true servants of God, Moses and Aaron, whenever God said he was going to have judgment against the rebels and threatened to destroy all Israel, only Aaron and Moses fell on their faces, risking their own lives, appealing to his graciousness so all the congregation might not suffer his wrath. And then the tents, families, and properties of the rebellious leaders had effectively been dedicated to destruction, and anyone who touched any of these things would be swallowed up in the devastation. And then we see this earth that swallows Korah and his people and his clans, his tents, his belongings, everything. The pit in Hebrew, which is Sheol, at this point in Israel's history was perceived to be a shadowy, unknowable realm of the dead, in the netherworld of both good and evil, where a person was gathered among ancestors at death. In this incident, the bodies of the leading rebels, their families, and their possessions plummeted into the gaping abyss. A judgmental fire consumed the other 250 insurrectionists too. It's pretty interesting. But the second census informs us that Korah's fate was the same as that of Dathan and Abiram, since Moses pronounced the curse before it happened. No one could mistake the judgment as accidental. The lesson of the previous day was soon forgotten as all the congregation gathered of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron again. So yeah, they went on murmuring. They cited them as a reason for the judgment against the rebellious Korah and his conspirators, And God's reaction followed the judgment sequence of the previous day, where they called for the people to separate themselves from the insurgents of as God's glory descended, lest they be consumed in the judgment. Aaron's act on behalf of the people portrays the concept of propriety atonement, as he literally stood at the mediator between the dead and the living to ward off the wrath of God. So Aaron came up and sacrificed an atonement offering, and he was mediating between God and the people. Oh, that's a parallel to Jesus. Okay. I just noticed that's paralleling Jesus on the cross. Okay. Anyway, the rod, whenever, actually, I told y'all I was going to show y'all the rod whenever we got to this part. I showed y'all the manna, showed y'all the Ten Commandments, I showed y'all the overall Ark of the Covenant. Now we get to see Aaron's rod, which blossomed. Remember? It blossomed. Here we go. Not as cool as it might have thought it's been for me hyping it up, but still pretty cool. And the little mini Ark of the Covenant. They had a real big one, like the size of an actual chest. That was like $450, and I was like, I'm not getting that. Like, I want it, but I'm not paying that much for something that, all things on earth and heaven shall pass away, but Jesus' words will never. So I'm not going to buy something that much and not have it later on. My treasures in heaven, not my earth. But speaking of rod, the rod was the official symbol of the tribal chieftain. One word, Hebrew in matar, means both tribe and staff/scepter, and each carried some signification of tribal identity. In this context, the names were inscribed for identification. The names were on the rods, remember? Aaron's name was inscribed on the staff of the tribe of Levi, since he was the oldest son of his family, so each tribal leader came up and inscribed their name on their own rod. Verse 8 through 9, we see that the fulfilled statement of the miraculous produce from Aaron's staff was budded and brought forth buds and bloomed and blossoms and yielded almonds, as God said he would. God said it was going to blossom, but he didn't say he was going to do all that, did he? Did he? I don't think so. He said whoever's rod blossoms, then hey, that's the guy, but Aaron's rod did more than blossom. But that heightened the drama, with God demonstrating the priority of the Aaronic priesthood. And also, after Moses showed the other tribal leaders the collection of tribal staffs, they were able to see God's blessing upon Aaron's staff. And God told Moses to bring Aaron's rod again before the testimony to be kept for a token. Moses placed the staff in front of the Ark of the Covenant as a sign against the rebels that God had indeed chosen the Aaronic line for priestly service. And Moses, the faithful and humble servant of God, carried out the Lord's instructions, even though the opposition again had placed a heavy burden on his shoulders. So every day, they're slapping at Moses around, but Moses don't care. He's turning the other cheek. He's not going an eye for an eye. That was good. But verse 12 through 13, we see these people panic, saying, God is going to consume us. We're going to be punished. We're going to perish. We're going to perish. We see that happen. These verses contain the people's panic response to the incidents, and furnishes the context for chapter 18. They were convinced that the very presence of the tabernacle amid the tribes of Israel was a danger. The incidents in chapter 16 and 17, like Korah and stuff, and the budding Aaron's rod. The Aaronic priest, going on in chapter 18, Aaron's charge, tabernacle. The Aaronic priests were camped in front of the entrance to the tabernacle on the east side of the sanctuary. The three clans of the Levites, Kohathites, and Gershonites, that was it, and Merarites, Kohathites, Gershonites, and Merarites. Those were the ones. Those were the three other clans. Okay. They were camped on the other three sides. This arrangement provided a physical and spiritual barrier against violation of the holy place. Trespassers and irreverent persons would be put to death, so God's wrath might not bring widespread destruction on the nation. And the priests and Levites' provisions were gifts of tithes and offerings from the people, Even the priests and Levites were required to tithe their gifts to the Lord. So remember we read about all these tithes, they offered tithes and stuff. But verse 14 through 20, we see this offerings reserved for priests and no inheritance for Aaron as well. Based on the principle of Exodus chapter 11, verse 1 through 10, and chapter 13, verse 2 through 16. I don't know why. Is it chapter 13? Yeah, it is. Okay. It is. Israel, because of that, based on the principle of Exodus chapter 11, verse 1 through 10, and Exodus chapter 13, verse 2 through 16, Israel was named through the firstborn of Egypt, both human and animal. Salt was associated with seasoning, preserving, and purifying. It was to accompany all the Levitical offerings referred to as the salt of the covenant of thy God. It symbolized a permanent relationship with God. We read about that in verse 19 of chapter 18. And verse 21 through 24, we see this gift. Yeah, the gift of the tenth to the children of Levi. That's what it is. It was a new legislation, whereas much of verse 1 through 20 of chapter 18 is a review of existing legislation. This highlights the role of the priests and Levites within the community after the threat to their positions in the Korah rebellion. Rebellion of Korah. We don't got much left. I smell my dinner being made, so I'm a little hungry. But let me see this thing about this red heifer in chapter 19. The original historical context of the red heifer ritual was under the auspices of the priesthood of Eleazar while his father Aaron was still alive, which his death happened in chapter 20. We'll get to that part soon. But the sprinkling of the blood of the slaughtered heifer is consistent with other blood rituals in the Pentateuch. My goodness, I said that incorrectly. But the unblemished heifer was entirely red, not spotted or mottled. Since the heifer had never been yoked, it was probably young and strong. Elsewhere, it was a bull that was sacrificed as a sin offering for the high priest and his family, or on behalf of the entire community. Thus, the female is specified here, so there should be no confusion of purification agents or rituals. The heifer would also offer the maximum yield of purification ashes, so the ritual need not be repeated as often. The redness of the heifer reflected the color of blood, as did the other sacrificial elements burned with the heifer. The plant species, translated hyssop, was probably not the Greek husops, but Marium majorum, sage or thyme, the leaves of which are very absorbent. Other reddish or colored elements in the ritual sanctification included cypress wood, roses, red wine, and seta sap. Verse 7. But 7 through 10. All right. There we go. Verse 7 through 10 of chapter 19 is talks about this priest, an assistant who would burn the red heifer, and the one who gathered and stored the ashes. The ashes were each made unclean. The priests were each made unclean by touching this purification or sin offering. The red heifer ashes, but that's a sin offering. But this was a lesser state of uncleanness than what was generated by touching a dead body or something. The ashes alone caused uncleanness, but when mixed with water, they became a purifying agent, so different uncleanness. Verse 11 through 22 of verse 11 through 22 is a bunch of laws regarding the uses of the ashes. Ritual impurity from exposure to a dead body required a sin offering that was actually a purification. Failure to perform the symbolic cleansings on the third and seventh days resulted in banishment from the community or death. The reason, by the way, I'm not going back and reading the verses, because most of the notes that I have are going over exactly what the verses are going over. And so, I'm explaining to you what these verses are saying. Basically, reading the verses explaining the process more thoroughly and more clearly to where it makes sense. That's why I'm not doing that. But contamination could result from several situations: being in or entering a tent where someone had just died, contact with the dead in battle or by accidental proximity, or contact with a grave or its remains. The 7-day period of the impurity was the maximum length for persons who had become unclean through a variety of serious diseases. Other forms of impurity, such as contact with a red heifer, rendered a person impure only until sundown. Verse 13 talks about the severity of the impurity resulting from touching a corpse, which is evidenced in the ritual washings administered on the 3rd and 7th days. The potential of defiling the sanctuary was a distance if left unpurified, and the potential penalty of karath being cut off from the community. Verse 21, in future generations, a perpetual statute, which is what it's talking about in verse 21, this purification offering and ritual would be a common purification offering, not only because of the exposure to corpses, but because it was considered acceptable for cleansing and other forms of impurity. In his presentations of person and work of Jesus Christ as superior to Old Testament ceremonies, the writer of the book of Hebrews, either Luke or Paul, combined the ritual of the ashes of the red heifer with that of the Day of Atonement in demonstrating the one and for all sufficiency of the blood of Christ in cleansing us from all our sins. Which, if we're going to read about that, Hebrews chapter 9, verse 11 through 14. And verse 20, again, children of Israel, even the whole congregation, into the desert of Zin in the first month, and the people abode in Kadesh, and Miriam died there and was buried there. So Miriam died, and then Aaron's going to die. Next page, flip it over, and he's dead. Both Moses' siblings died in the same chapter. The first month, which is Abib or Nisan, in the spring of the 40th year, brought the conclusion of the punishment of Israel in the wilderness. The chapter begins with the death of Miriam. It concludes with Aaron's death on the first day of the 5th month of the 40th year after the Exodus. This was a month of deliverance from Egypt, in which the people should have been celebrating the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread in the Promised Land. Instead, they found themselves back in Kadesh after 40 years. Miriam's death is recounted briefly. So now Israelites begin to grumble. They begin to murmur against Moses and Aaron again now that Miriam has died, and they want water from a rock. The grumbling Israelites were now back where they had first received the scouts' report assessing the promised land. The 10-person majority report had produced a rebellious rejection of the land by the Israelites and the 40-year judgment in the wilderness. So they just went in a freaking circle. Very idiotic of them, I guess. But, yeah, they begin to complain about water. The shortage of water led to an insurrection of the Israelites against their leaders. Again, this event recalls the early events by the older generation Exodus. I saw a meme, actually, where it's like you're reading the laws of Moses and the books of Moses and, you know, the history books of the Bible, like, you know, from Joshua all the way to Esther, and you keep seeing the Israelites, like, get mad, and the guy's just like, because the Israelites keep freaking messing up and rejecting God, and they keep getting punishments, and the guy's like, why won't you learn? And he's not wrong. Like, why didn't the Israelites learn from, like, their first mistake? Why didn't the Israelites learn whenever they saw the earth swallow Korah? I mean, come on. Next thing you know, you're going to have Balaam trying to curse you, and God's going to turn every single one of those curses into a blessing. Because that's just how it works. But, yeah, that's something that's crazy. Yeah, they complain about... What's that? Okay, I'm almost done. Like, I have, like, 2 minutes left. Get out! This was a joke. But, they wouldn't stop complaining. So it's kind of annoying. I see why God gets angry at them a lot. But, yeah, it led to another insurrection against God, the shortage of water. And once more, the people claimed that it would have been better to die in Egypt than to suffer such hardship in that barren wilderness. They preferred bondage, oppression, and death and captivity over their miraculous deliverance, freedom, and provision from the Lord. Verse 6 through 8, we see this rod, which is mentioned. It was probably This rod mentioned here was probably the staff of Aaron that had budded, blossomed, and produced almonds to confirm Aaron's priestly authority. And then we see Moses fall into unfaithfulness by unleashing a verbal attack on the rebels and declaring that he and Aaron were about to bring forth water from a rock, and that he smote the rock twice instead of speaking to it. God told him to speak to the water, and water would... No. God told him to speak to the rock, and water would have come from it. But Moses didn't. Instead, he smelt it twice because he was angry and saying, hey, water's going to come from me and Aaron. Not from God, but from me and Aaron. Kind of like a Saul mistake right there. But, he kind of made a mistake there. He didn't listen to God. And, because of that, because he smote the rock instead of speaking to it like God said, God punished Moses by declaring that he would not bring his congregation into the land. And then Moses sends a message to the king of Edom to allow them to travel the king's highway. Moses' message to the king of Edom followed classical Hebrew epistolary form and customary protocol of the Bronze and Iron Ages. The mention of the point of origin for the letter at Kadesh, a city in uttermost of thy border, made the king of Edom aware of Israel's immediate need for passage. If this Kadesh is taken to be Kadesh Barnea, and if it lay near the border of Edomite territory, this implies that some of the early tribal Edomites had settled or controlled some areas west of the Arabah. Others believe the phrase means that Israel under Moses was simply approaching the Edomite region. Like Israel, the Edomites did not become a formal state in the modern sense until the Iron Second period, which was 1000 to 550 BC, closer to kings and stuff like Solomon and Ahab and Elijah, all that. Moses' request included specifics about how the Israelites would respect Edom, the Edomite domain, if they would grant passage. The seasonal description indicates spring, when grain fields were near harvest time, and vine dressing for the summer and fall crops had just begun. Thus, it was important to assure the Edomites that their crops would not be trampled or scavenged. Water rights also were of great concern. The Israelites would presumably bring their own water supply from Kadesh during their brief passage of perhaps 2 days through the Edomite highlands. And we mentioned the King's Highway earlier. The King's Highway was a famous trade route connecting Damascus with Arabia, Sinai, and Egypt through the Transjordan tablelands, which was Golan, Bashan, Galilee, Ammon, Moab, and Edom, and the southern mountains paralleling the Arabah on the eastern side. Caravans brought highly prized incense, spices, perfumes, precious jewels, and copper from the Sinai and Paran wilderness sources. So a lot of places right there. A lot of places. That was a lot of geographical information. But he also, Moses, offered that he would pay him if his animals or people took some of the crops or trampled over it or took a little sip out of their rivers. But the suggestion of payment for safe passage was in keeping with ancient Near Eastern protocol, as tolls or tribute were often exacted from trade caravans. The harsh Edomite answer caused bitter feelings down Israel and Edom for centuries now. Yeah, another mistake by Jacob and Esau again, if you know what I'm talking about. But the location we see on Mount Hor, that's where Aaron, I almost said Abraham. I was doing some stuff in Genesis earlier, that's why I said Abraham. Aaron is stripped of his priestly duties, and his priestly duties is given over to his son Eleazar. And I believe this is because of what he did with the rock. Because he rebelled against my words at the water of Meribah. Yeah, that's right. The location of Mount Hor, where this all happened, depends on the route followed by the Israelites. As we got deep in verse 16, Mount Hor was on the border with Edom, according to chapter 33, verse 37, which we will get to tomorrow probably. But suggested mountains have included the traditional Islamic identity of Jebel Nebi Hadran, Mount of the Prophet Aaron, near Petra, Jebel Madra, about 6 miles northeast of Kadesh, Emirat el Kereshis, also 8 miles north of Kadesh, or Jebel Madura, about 15 miles northeast of Kadesh Barnea. Now we don't go by Islam, but it still has like geographical information, which I don't really fully believe is alright, because in the Quran it says that there's certain plants and certain trees on Mount Sinai that's not there, and that's literally a contradiction. And also in Quran it says that Allah, hold on, this is funny. Allah loves, okay, so a lot of people say Allah is all loving, but in the Quran it says Allah loves the righteous, but Allah does not love the disobedient. He's not all loving. His love is conditional and not unconditional. So boom, contradiction right there. Also, it says that at one point that the earth was made in 6 days, but at another point in the Quran it says it was made in 8 days. If that was me, and I mean, come on, this book supposedly it does not have divine origin, but Muslims believe that the Quran has divine origin, came from Allah himself and handed down to the Prophet Muhammad in a cave from an angel or something. People presume to be Gabriel. And if you remember in Galatians, I think it says not to take no new gospel from either angel nor man. Come on, the Bible is just beating you here. I mean, come on, dude. It's also false. But like, why the heck would you trust a book that says that claims it's of divine origin, yet has internal contradictions? That doesn't make no sense, right? So anyway, that's it for this exhaustive numbers overview. It's not that exhausting. I'm probably gonna do another video in like 2 hours, but and do the last numbers video tomorrow, and then we're gonna start on Deuteronomy Tuesday, which is gonna be fun. I don't know. I do have like this IIR thing for college I have to do. Not college. I'm in an AP college class in high school, so I'm not in college yet. I have 2 years, but told me to schedule. So let's pray. Let's pray. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Lord, I thank you for gathering us today. I ask that you give us wisdom. I ask that you can give us understanding so we can shun evil. And like I said, give us wisdom, please, so that we can know to fear you, Lord. I thank you for giving us wisdom and allowing us to have understanding. I ask that you guide us through our days, Lord, and allow us to rest our heads tonight, Lord, and wake up in the mornings. I ask that you lift up any burdens that anyone have right now. I ask that you can heal anyone who's struggling, Lord, whether it's mental, psychologically, I don't know how that works, but yeah, physically, anyway. I ask that you heal us in any way, Lord. And spiritually, heal us all spiritually, definitely too. I ask that of you, Lord, on your time and on your will, of course. And I thank you for doing those things. I believe you will do it if it's your will, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen. So God bless y'all. Love y'all, and I'll see y'all probably later tonight if I do another numbers video.